All right, so Bob Iger has thoughts about the Disney Plus streaming platform, and for those who feel like the movies have suffered since streaming started, Bob Iger agrees with you. Um, but I don't know if it's for the same reason exactly. But anyway, days after extending his contract through 2026, which, yeah, he's staying on. This is the guy who retired in 2020. Bob Iger blamed the launch of Disney Plus and the COVID-19 pandemic for the creative and financial issues facing Pixar and Marvel Studios. Now, to be fair, okay, that the launch of Disney Plus, that was completely within their control, but it's not like the COVID pandemic could have been prevented. Well, actually, it could have, but not by Disney. Disney had nothing to do with that. All right. I love it how this article points out that his successor was a disaster. Okay, he blames Marvel's focus on TV for diluted focus and attention on the MCU movies that have failed to connect since Avengers Endgame in 2019. Now, number one, there are so many people out there who seem to think that every movie should be Endgame. There are those people who do that. But, yes, a lot of these movies have been duds, like Thor Love and Thunder. Sounds like somebody just phoned it in. Come on, Taika Waititi, you are better than that. I haven't seen Ant-Man and the Wasp, but that movie wasn't well received either. Something about the CGI, which, yeah, if you're giving your VFX team too much work and too little time to do it, you are going to get shoddy work. So, can't blame that because that was the problem with Ant-Man. People complained about that on She-Hulk. Well, there were other things people complained about with She-Hulk, but those were mostly whiny man babies. But anyway. So, legit, but those are legit criticisms that, the CGI wasn't up to snuff. And, if you're giving people too much work and just, treating it like an assembly line, let's shoot it out, as opposed to making sure you have the right product. Like with Armor Wars, it was supposed to be a Disney Plus series, and then they decided, oh, this is probably better as a movie. And so they're concentrating on the movie. So, that sort of thing. Making sure that the right material is going in the right place. So, anyway, he also said that Pixar has suffered as a result of sending 3 of their releases direct to streaming during the early days of the pandemic. So he's basically saying that it didn't make as much money. Which Disney Plus kind of coincided with the pandemic. So I can see why there wasn't that. It took a while for people to realize that Disney Plus even existed. Because a lot of these people are casual fans. So they had no idea. People who are fans or who really wanted to see such and such a movie, if it was properly marketed, or the people at the Marvel fans, they probably were aware, and so they immediately went to Disney Plus. But yeah, if the marketing isn't there and you just direct to streaming, it's not going to make as much as it will for movies. Actually, I remember that's what pissed off Scarlett Johansson with Black Widow, with her movie. Her contract said it was going to go to the movies and she was going to make such and such amount of money. And then suddenly the pandemic hit and, oh, we're going to change that. So she was rightfully pissed because in general, you usually make more money if you release it in the theaters than you do in streaming. So, let's go on. Hollywood has long viewed streaming as the future of the business, but as Netflix proved, it can be a long road to profitability even in the best of circumstances. The pandemic pushed the studios to make aggressive moves that served the consumer but ultimately cost them some money in the short term. Now that business has returned to normal, virtually every streamer is taking on more consumer hostile practices, and Disney is far from the only studio blaming the pivot to streaming for its recent dip in revenue. So, I guess they're blaming streaming that not as many people are watching it, is my understanding. There have been some disappointments, and we would have liked some of our more recent releases to perform better, Iger told The Wrap. It's reflective not as a problem from a personnel perspective, but I think in our zeal to basically grow our content significantly to serve mostly our streaming offerings, we ended up taxing our people way beyond, in terms of their time and their focus, way beyond where they have been. Now, is he talking about consumers saying that, casual fans saying there's too much Marvel, which I have heard, which have you seen Marvel comics? If you think this is a lot, believe me, every character has like 3 or 4 titles. It is just insane. But if you're talking about the employees, like I said, like I used the example of the VFX team, well, yeah, obviously if you expect people to churn out the same quality stuff in a shorter amount of time, of course you're not going to get what you need. That makes sense. Anyway, in other words, to try and make Disney Plus worthwhile, we made decisions that hurt other parts of our business. I'm going to say that there's another reason your business is having issues. And it's political. It has nothing to do with just Disney Plus. I mean, let's face it. Warner Brothers had this issue with their streaming service. So David Zaslav comes in and tries to gut a lot of it. I'm told that he's a reality TV schmuck. So now I'm worried about DC a lot. But hopefully James Gunn will be able to make a good product. But yeah, they also had problems. They wanted Batgirl to be exclusively a streaming. And David Zaslav says, no, we want to make money. So no. So we're going to just cut our losses with that one. Which there's arguments as to whether it could have existed as a movie in theaters as opposed to just streaming. Blue Beetle apparently almost suffered the same fate, but someone said, you know what, this is a good one. So they went with it. So it's getting a movie release. So yeah, people are still feeling out this streaming thing and how much they can get away with. Now, with Marvel, my problem is that with the casual fans, not just is there so much Marvel that the employees, have problems keeping up, which, yeah, why don't you, instead of releasing so many projects in a year, make sure that those projects are good and then release them. But, I mean, I've heard even from James Gunn that Marvel never stops. They're always improving, even after the release. So a movie that you could watch on Disney Plus will not look the same as it would look in the movie theaters, and not just because it's a movie theater. So, but my concern is like people who watch Doctor Strange. I like the movie, but if you didn't follow WandaVision, You have no idea where Wanda is in this, what you looks like an orchard, which turns into this vast wasteland when she lowers her hex. And you don't know why she had a mental breakdown. You would have to watch WandaVision to understand that, or ask someone who did watch WandaVision, or just follow the plot of WandaVision. So I can see why people would be less interested in watching these movies if they have to follow the TV shows to understand what's happening. Like with Star Wars with Ahsoka that's coming out. Dave Filoni said that he's going to structure it in such a way that it'll be fun for the fans who watch the Clone Wars and Rebels. But for those of us who didn't, we'll be able to figure shit out. It's not like we're going to be completely lost. So, yeah, if Marvel did that, so people will know, okay, this is why Wanda went cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I'm sure that in Captain America 4, when they introduce the new Falcon, people, now obviously they know that Captain America gave his shield to Sam, so that part shouldn't surprise people. But what will surprise them is, where did this Falcon come from? Who is he? So, yeah, it's great that you want to get a lot of legwork out of the way, to get the foundation of certain characters out of the way. But at the same time, the people who just watch the movies are going to be completely lost. Anyway, so in other words, to try and make Disney Plus worthwhile, we made decisions that hurt other parts of our business. Okay, that's likely true, at least in part, but it's also something that isn't unique to Disney. With blockbuster box office hauls depressed across the board, it's hard not to imagine that part of the problem is that the studios are so eager for a return to normal that they haven't figured out a way to monetize the shorter exclusivity windows and higher overall volume of content creation that have been hallmarks of the streaming era. So basically, they haven't figured out how to utilize streaming, is what I think I just read. Marvel's a great example of that, Iger continued. They had not been in the TV business at any significant level. Not only did they increase their movie output, but they ended up making a number of television series, and frankly, a diluted focus and attention. That is, I think, more of the cause than anything. Iger pointed specifically to the shortened theatrical windows as a reason for Pixar's current struggles. Again, there's probably some truth there, but exclusivity windows had already started shrinking prior to March 2020, and at the time it didn't seem to be having a negative impact on box office. There were 3 Pixar releases in a row that went direct to streaming, mostly because of COVID, Iger said. And I think that may have created an expectation in the audience that they're going to eventually be on streaming, and probably quickly, and there wasn't an urgency. And then I think you'd have to agree that there was some creative misses as well. Yes. Yes, there were. But that is true. I'm sure a lot of people who are like, I don't go to the movies. I do not go to the movies. I haven't gone to a movie in forever. And it's just, I don't like the crowds. I don't like I just don't like the whole situation. So I don't go to the movies. I wait for it to come to streaming. But I'm sure that there are people out there who, you know, it's iffy. Oh, which movie do I want to watch? Well, this one I guess I can wait till streaming. This one I'll watch now. And so there might be people who might decide, I'll just wait for it to go to streaming because it's cheaper and more comfortable for me, whatever. I can have my own snacks. instead of buying overpriced popcorn, which is way too buttery. So so there is a give and take. So I do understand what he's saying. However, and I'm glad he pointed out that the misses aren't completely because of Disney Plus. But yeah, Marvel does have to work harder at creating, good movies, good projects, as opposed to an assembly line. Let's just churn them out as fast as possible. I mean, personally, I do like the being able to watch on Disney Plus. First Marvel, go to Star Wars, then back to Marvel, then Star Wars. I'm perfectly fine with that. But at the same time, if it's not good, if it's just there just to be there, and also I hope that Bob Iger understands that there are some creative misses, but just like in the comics, not every comic book character, not every comic book series is going to be for everyone. So why would you expect every superhero TV show, every Marvel TV show or movie to be for everybody? It's not. Like, people were poo-pooing Miss Marvel's, like, because it looked kiddish. Well, that's because it's meant for kids. I mean, I enjoyed it. I thought it was adorable. But that's not everyone's cup of tea. I didn't watch WandaVision except for the last 2 episodes. I was just following along and suddenly, oh, this looks interesting. Now that it's becoming, you know, more plot heavy, as opposed to watching Wanda slowly losing her mind. So I watched those last 2. I didn't watch the rest of them because it was just comedy based and I just wasn't interested. So that's fine. I do not consider that a creative miss just because I'm not interested in it. So it's fine to try something new. It's fine that not every casual fan's gonna like every project, because just like comic books, there is something for everyone, and not everything is going to be what everybody wants. And I don't see a problem with that. I don't see a problem with growing it, that people are like, hey, they're doing Moon Knight, or they're going to do Midnight Suns. And I'm sure there are plenty of people, myself included, who are excited about that. The prospect of having a Midnight Suns. Others might prefer just standard Avengers. Others might be interested in something more cosmic. That's all well and good, and yes, the idea is to make money, and you want to appeal to as wide of an audience as possible, but at the same time, you might end up not realizing how many people are interested in a project. So sometimes you do have to take risks. So yes, there were creative misses, but some of those misses are just totally based on there is a non-white male as a as a lead. We have a non-white male as the lead. It's not about white men. You might rarely see a white man, depending on, the series. So there are toxic fans who hated something just for that, because, God forbid you don't have, white males constantly being the saviors of the series. But at the same time, there's a lot of people who do like that. Whether it's because they see themselves in it or whatever. So there's nothing wrong with opening yourself up to new audiences, even though every project itself, you might find that it has wider appeal than you think. You know, as opposed to thinking that because this minority that are howling, these whiny man babies that are howling, that not everything is about them. You know, that just because you have that doesn't mean that people don't like it. So, anyway, I'm going to get off my soapbox and stop rambling because that's the end of the article. And yeah, so it sounds like he's probably going to dial it back with the amount of projects. I don't know if just strictly Disney Plus or if he's also going to dial back the movies. But you know, they're going to have plenty of time to figure this out because there's the writer's strike still going on. There's the Screen Actors Guild strike, and God knows when that's going to be settled. And, you know, Bob Iger basically called actors a bunch of ingrates because reasons. I didn't read why he thinks that, but, you know, I'm sure he just thinks that actors should be lucky that they're working or something. So yeah, but there's a lot of stuff to dislike about Bob Iger, but he does have some good ideas, and so hopefully, instead of extending his contract till when he's a skeleton, hopefully they'll find someone to take over Disney that actually understands what the hell is going on. And I'm done rambling. So I will see you guys in the next video.